Today on the Coaches Why podcast, we have a very special guest. He's a former collegiate runner where he ran at Allen Community College and Kansas Wesleyan, competing in both cross country and track and field. He then had the opportunity to go coach at Fort Scott Community College, where he helped coach the first All-American in cross country for the school in their history. He's now currently in his first year as a track and field and cross country coach at Butler Community College. Today, we welcome Coach Mark Emerson to the Coaches Why podcast. With the world of coaching evolving and the carousel always changing, we're going to sit down with some coaches and we're going to figure out what they coach, how they coach, and most importantly, why they got into this profession. My name is Kason Wilkinson, and I am your host of the Coaches Why podcast.
That was my Coaches Why.
Welcome back to the Coaches Why podcast. We have a very special edition, very special guest here today. We have Coach Mark Emerson coming all the way from Butler Community College. He is their track and field and cross country coach. He's both, right?
Yes, yeah.
Heck yeah, okay. So I appreciate you joining today, Coach. Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, man. I'm looking forward to this. You're my first you're my first track and field / cross country coach. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive into this a little bit. I myself did track and did that in high school, and I was around a lot of really good athletes in college, and so I appreciate what you're doing over there for sure. Cross country is not for me though. I'll tell you that. So, Coach, before we kind of jump into your coaching journey, and before we talk a little bit about who you are as a coach, I like to dive in to you as the person. So where did you grow up? When did you get involved in cross country or track, and kind of tell me how that was for you growing up?
Yeah. So originally in middle school, I tried out for football. I played flag football when I was younger. I was like, well, let me try tackle football. Needless to say, tackle football wasn't my thing. I wasn't good at it. I remember I played safety, and we had a fullback coming through the hole, and he just lowered his shoulder and put me down. And after that, I knew, hey, man, football's not for me, man. But I ended up I boxed for about 4 years.
Okay.
Had about 40 amateur fights, and I was really into that. I mean, I was going to the gym, working on that a lot, and that was my passion. And I remember in high school, my junior year, my seminar teacher, Coach Cook, man, he was a runner himself. He ran at Fort Hays State, pretty good back in the late 70s there. They had a really good program out there. But he said, I think you can break 5 minutes in the mile. And I said, really? To me, 5 minutes? I was like, oh my gosh. And he basically recruited me, come out, do cross country track. And so I started my junior year, and I fell in love with it, and gained instant success. I was pretty good at it. So
right,
started out there, and
how it transitioned. Yeah, I was a wrestler. That's what I went. I went to school, at least college wise, for wrestling. So I'm not saying that boxing and wrestling are similar in those aspects, but they're very high intense training, right? It's a lot of high intensity. Whenever you went from boxing into cross country and these events of that nature, did that mental toughness that you had to do in boxing help transition over into that sport or into those sports? Yeah.
To be honest, 100%. And you said you wrestled in college?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I said, man, boxing and wrestling, two of the hardest sports you can do, man. It is a grind. I mean, it really hard. Is. You got to be tough, man. And yep. So I respect you. Where did you wrestle at? I
went to Adams State in Colorado.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's at elevation too over there, ain't it?
Yeah. 70, I think it was 7,600 feet, I believe.
Oh my gosh!
So it was high, yeah, and it was cool because their cross country and their track programs are pretty prolific over there, and so like they do obviously all their running and stuff, but one of the hardest things for me to do mentioning the elevation was coming from, I mean, where I'm at in New Mexico, it's still 5,600 feet, or 5,300, something like that. But when you went there, that extra 1,500, 2,000 feet of elevation, we'd go run in the morning, and I was like gassed out. It took me so long to acclimate to that, and I'm like, dude, how do these guys run? How do these athletes run? Granted, I know that's what they do, but it's like, how the hell do these athletes go run 6, 7, 10 miles in a day and come back and be like, yeah, we're gonna have to still go to Walmart? I'm like, no, I can't do it. So I give respect to runners too, just because like I was a sprinter whenever I did track in high school. Like I didn't do anything longer than that. When coach had me run 400s, I'm like, coach, I'll do 1, 2, and I'm done. I can't do your 4x4s and all that stuff that they had us do for training and stuff. So couldn't do it. So respect to your profession as well, for sure.
Yeah. No. Yeah, but back to what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that mental toughness, I think, helped a lot. And, it's crazy because, like, I'm not sure how it is in the wrestling world. With boxing, at least, man, like, when you get in that boxing ring to fight, it's like, it's hard to explain what it feels like. And so when I towed the line in my first race, I was like, this isn't, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't have to dodge somebody trying to punch you for the next X amount of time. Yeah. It's really a fight within yourself, though. Like you're boxing yourself mentally and physically to get over that. And, they say you get a runner's high. I don't think I've ever ran long enough to get to that runner's high, but I've seen people talk about that. Is that a real thing?
I mean, you go out there maybe, mid run, you'll feel good. You're like, man, I feel good today, man. I'm rocking and rolling,
Yeah.
But just on the same spectrum too, there's days like, man, I just gotta get through it today, So
Yeah. Yeah.
but, yeah.
That's understandable. So, when you grew up in that, and obviously that's how you started in your sport, I should say, as you developed in that sport, when did you, before I ask that question, did you competed at the next level, right? You went from high school to the next level. Where did you compete at?
So I ran at Allen Community College, and
Okay.
I ran for Coach Vince DeGrotto out there. He was starting back up the program at Allen. I mean, he came back from Cali. He was coming from Cali. Won both men and women's cross country national championships. He was coming off of that, and so he brought me on there, and
Heck yeah.
I was part of that first group that I think they rattled off on the guys' side like 8 straight conference championships or something like that. So.
Impressive. Yeah, impressive. So you went to the next level. So when did you realize that you could participate at the next level? It's like when you're in high school and you're doing all these events. Now that's the thing too, because like when you're an athlete in like football or baseball or wrestling or really anything like that, you don't have times that you can get recruited off of. I mean, you can get recruited off like how you wrestle, your mentality, or whatever sport it is, right? Football, how strong your arm is, how accurate you are as a quarterback, whatever. But like in track and swimming and some of these other events that have times, right? Throws, you can see how far you threw. It's a time. You can be recruited off of times, right? Or like seeing potential and stuff. So were you, when you were in high school, was there a time that you set that was like, oh, I know I could go compete at the next level? Or was it more of like oh, these coaches are talking to me type of thing? What was your thing that you realized, oh, I can go compete? And then kind of a secondary to that, what was your recruiting process like? What was it like? Did you have a lot of coaches? Was it one? I mean, what was that process like for you?
Yeah. So I know my senior year, I got a couple looks. Neosho coach really wanted me. He was after me hard. I know I got a couple letters from like St. Mary's, a couple NAIA schools. But I went on one visit. I went to Neosho. I was like, it's all right. I don't know if I want to do this. I actually ended up going to Kansas State my first semester just as a student.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of checked out, done with running for a little bit. But I went to Kansas State and, I missed it. And I was like, man.
Yeah.
Coach DeGrotto was at Cali at the time. And I messaged him when he was at Cali. And he reached back out to me and he said, oh, are you still looking to run, man? I got a spot for you. And the rest was history after that, man. I said,
Yeah.
I'll come JUCO, man.
Yeah, for sure. And so, what was your times in high school that either that caught all these schools' attention? Was it something that was it like a qualifying to the state tournament, or not to the state tournament, state meet? Was it like a time that you set there, how you finished there? I mean, what was it that you think caught their attention?
Yeah. No, in high school, so I started late. I started my junior year, and I, cross country season, I made it to state. I was an average runner, 17 minutes for a 5K. But when I would talk to college coaches, I'd be like, yeah, I just started junior year. And they're like, what? You ran that? And they're like, you have so much potential, man, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of what I was getting recruited for was my potential, man. And
Gotcha.
yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, if a coach can see that, same thing for me though. Honestly, I didn't wrestle till I was a senior in high school, and junior year, yeah, and then same thing with like track. I didn't start track till I was a junior, and I placed both years at state for track for throwing, and did the same thing, placing at state for wrestling, and obviously wrestling was what took me to the next level, and I was very surprised that it was a Division II school. I had an opportunity to go wrestle at a Arkansas Baptist out there in Arkansas, which at that time was a JUCO. I think they're NAI now, but anyways. But yeah, I mean, it's cool whenever a coach sees potential in you, even though, you're like, dude, I'm so late to this game, but they still see it in you. It's really cool to know that there's still coaches out there like that, right? Whenever and this is a side question off of this, but since you have to do the recruiting for things, do you recruit kids off of potential now? But now a 2-year school, right? Like a 4-year school, you have a little bit more time to develop a kid, and you're able to get them to their max potential, even if it might be 3-4 years in. But as a JUCO, you only have 2 years with the kid, maybe 3, right? Depending on COVID and stuff, how they are set. But for the most part, it's 2 years. So do you have that space for what you are doing and where you are to actually recruit for potential?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So a lot of what I recruit is I love to recruit Kansas. I love to recruit in state, man. I'm in state recruiting a lot, and a lot of these kids in these programs, especially these smaller school programs, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A.
Yeah.
They might be the top of their team, but they're not training with anyone. No one's really pushing them. So what I tell them, I say, hey, we put you around, Jimmy Joe from, Opie,
Wherever. Yeah.
and put you guys together. You guys put 2 years in. Maybe you're not getting the offers you want to get right now, but it's an opportunity to open up a door, and
right. Yeah. So you're open to do that too. Hell yeah. When did you? I should say. Let me ask this question. Was there ever a coach in your life at any point, right? Youth participation, high school, college, anywhere in your life. Was there ever a coach who made an impact on your life? And if so, who was he or she, and why?
Yeah. There's a couple. Coach Cook, obviously, he had this undeniable belief in me for some whatever reason to come out from cross country.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's a great coach. He's the nicest person in the world. He would even bring me over to his house. He had like a little farm with chickens and roosters and stuff. And it was a really nice coach, man. Coach Sandifer also over at my 4-year school, Kansas Wesleyan. He really impacted me a lot and kind of showed me the way. And in terms of getting into the coaching world and the ins and outs and what it really means to be a coach. He really helped me a lot, man. So he was a big impact as well.
It's interesting you say that about the track coaches, because my entire time being around, like mainly in high school, right? But I feel like track coaches were always just chill. Like they never had any problems with maybe some coaches it wasn't me, but a really intense hurdle coach. Like he was super intense and but for the most part, the head coaches, throw coaches, they were always really relaxed. Is that something that's just because that's what track is? Like it's long days and a grind, or is it just kind of personality things? Like what have you seen in that world being, where you are?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, yeah, and we can afford that, especially on the track and field side of things, man. Like you said, long days, you know, kind of hanging out half the day, waiting for events or, making small talk with the athletes, and
Right.
you just, yeah, you build that personal relationship. I think there's more of an opportunity for that for sure.
Right, real big social side of things. I agree. I'm not gonna lie. I spent more time in other teams' tents in high school than I did my own tent. So it's funny because there's some dudes I hated in football, like hated them on the football field from like across town, and then like I just somehow navigated over to them, like being throws or whatever it was, and I was over there in their tent, and I was like, y'all are actually really cool. And it's funny because like obviously football field they're completely different, which I guess you have to be, but it's just interesting how on the track it's like I developed so many more friends than I thought I would just because I was socializing and they were socializing back, and so were the coaches, right? So it's I don't know what it is about track, but I enjoyed the track season. I didn't like the heat when you got to like the summer heat, like to the meets, but the socializing side of it was top tier. I love that part of it. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about you as a person, where you started. Now you said you went to Kansas Wesleyan, right? And that's a 4-year school, NAI, right? Okay. How did that transition feel for you, or how did that transition go for you, going from 2 years in high school to 2 years at a JUCO to now your final 2 years there? How was that competition change? How did you change? I mean, what was that adjustment for you?
Yeah. Well, so luckily, man, like my college experience, I've always had really good teammates and been a part of a really like competitive team and stuff. So I was
Right.
really lucky for that. Transitioning over to Kansas Wesleyan, Brent Bailey was the coach that recruited me over there, and he was putting together a really good team, man. And so the experience over there was grade A, and I appreciate it, man. It was Kansas Wesleyan, some of the best times of my life, man. I loved it out there.
You gotta love that whenever you get to enjoy the college side of things, but also being an athlete too. It's nothing like that, or nothing. You can't compare anything to it, right, in life. So when did you decide that coaching is what you wanted to do? I mean, is it something you've always wanted to do, or is it something that just kind of fell in your lap? I mean, what was the moment that you're like, I want to do this for profession?
Yeah. So I was at Kansas Wesleyan. I had our department had, he was also my professor, Minnick, Brian Minnick, and we would sit down and just talk sometimes. And I was an education major at first, but I knew I wanted to be involved with sports.
Right.
And I was a secondary education major at the time, and he brought up the thought about college coaching and the prospect of that. So I think my junior year I started doing research on how do you get into college coaching? What do I need to do? And Coach Sandiford came in my senior year, and I had a lot of questions for him. He probably annoyed how often I'd ask him questions, but he had a wealth of knowledge, and he was able to give it to me. And so
Yeah. So so you kind of that conversation with your coach was what kind of did it for you whenever that time came. So I mean, so how long have you been doing this? I mean, how long have you been in the coaching game? And then what was your timeline like? So where did you start? Like where was your first school? What was your first program? And how did it get you? What was from then to now? Basically, what was that timeline of schools?
okay, yeah. So to I want to say this is my eighth year coaching.
Okay.
I went up to Iowa, NAI Waldorf up there.
Okay. Yep.
I was a GA out there for 2 years, and then I got a job at Fort Scott as an assistant coach. And I was there for a few years, and then got the job here at Butler and been here ever since, man. So
I gotcha. I think I was reading this is your first year as a head coach here, right? At Butler, at least.
yeah, yeah. I got
So how
promoted
is
over.
that? Oh, you got promoted. Okay, from being a assistant coach.
Mhm.
Okay. So how does it feel to be under your first, I guess your first cross country season? I don't know if are you guys done with your season yet, or are you guys almost done?
Well, almost. We have nationals left, and then cross country be over. We switch over to track.
Track. So how's it been being your first year in the college world, being the head coach? I mean, what is some experiences? What has been your favorite part of it so far, being the head coach, and what has been like a difficult part? I'm sure this is probably a better question for like after track season's done too, because I know it's probably two different worlds from cross country to track. But I mean, so far, what have you seen and felt?
Yeah. So I know, like, as an assistant, moving on to head coach, a lot of it is, obviously the first year learning experience, which
Right.
is great. I'm loving it so far. I think becoming a head coach, a lot more of it is like the managerial side of things, managing, everything, every
Right.
part of the program. You got your hands in trying to make sure everything's going right in the right direction. Um, you know, just with
Yeah.
everything, grades, performance,
Yeah.
budget, stuff like that. You
All the
know,
administration stuff.
yes, the
Yeah.
paperwork. I forgot who it was. They said you're never really gonna be ready to be a head coach. They said you just kind of got to do it and get learn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, but the part that I love the most is we're we're doing it our way, the way we want to do it here, and being able to do it our way is like the big thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. How's been the recruiting process been? Has that been hard for you or been easy for you? I mean, what's it like actually being the top guy that to try to get people to come, perform for you?
Yeah. So before, as a, cross country, middle distance, a lot of what I was doing, I was, going out finding the kids, just middle distance. Now I'm kind of looking every event, jumps, throws, I'm reaching out to everyone. So on the recruiting side, recruiting a little bit more, which is fine. That's always been one of my strengths, man. I've always been a hard recruiter, going out and getting it.
Yeah,
Now obviously like an assistant brings up a kid, being able to evaluate this kid and, going over offers and stuff like that. Obviously two is kind of a new part in
yeah.
evaluating for sure.
Is it? I guess you could say, are you looking at like? I guess this is just interesting for me. So like whenever I look into like kids who can go to the next level, I'm looking at like how they did at the state tournament last year. I'm looking at if it's their first year doing it. I'm looking at film, things like that. What are you looking for when you're recruiting a track kid or a cross country kid?
Yeah. So, initially, obviously, we're looking at marks. What have they thrown in the shot, or how fast have they ran in the 100-meter dash? But then when you get that kid on campus, or you start talking with them, what's this kid's mentality?
Yeah,
What makes this kid tick? Is this kid a hard worker? Is he a go getter? And
yeah.
so.
That's fair. You're doing a overall and you're doing an overall analysis, if you would, on the kid, not only for athletically but personally or mentally. Yeah, I can agree. I can see how that's important for sure. Whenever it comes to like your coaching now, or I should say, I know you've been coaching for a while, but you can answer this on like a level of overall, or you can answer this on the level of as a head coach. But what do you love about coaching? Yeah, just keep it in general. What do you love about coaching, and what do you dislike about it? Is there anything you dislike, or is it just kind of like you got love for everything?
Yeah. What I really love, one of the things is, the personal relationships you build with the athletes, and
Right.
being able to be a positive impact on, the athletes and seeing them grow and helping them move on, is one of the parts I love. I love to see kids move on and be successful and be a part of their journey. I love that. I love to
Right.
win, you know.
Of
I think we
course.
all like
Yeah.
to win a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Of course.
yeah,
Yeah. That's important. That's an important piece.
yeah, yeah. We're competitors, right? So, you know, I think one thing, you know, with coaching, especially cross country track, we're year round, man. So especially track season, you're gone a lot of Saturdays. So losing Saturdays, you know, sucks. But at the end of the day, you know, I think this is, you know, as a coach, it's a passion, right? So
Of
that's
course. You're
something you
willing to
do.
give it up.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
No, that's fair. I think that cross country and track, yeah, I mean, it's a grind year round, and a lot of those kids go year round too. So when it comes to like, I guess coming back to the recruiting side of things, whenever you are talking to that kid and they're on campus, like, yeah, whatever that is, right? I mean, what sticks out for you mentally whenever you are talking to a kid? Is it a competitiveness? Is it just like the family oriented, like team based thing? I mean, because you know, we know track and, you know, a lot of these sports are, you know, even wrestling's technically an individual sport, but at the end of the day, like, you can't win a national championship with one person. You can't win a conference title with one person. So, like, is it something of that nature? I mean, what are you looking for when you get that first initial interaction with the kid?
yeah. No, that's 100%. Yeah, it's true. Um, you know, obviously, as you know, kid could have all the talent in the world, and but does this kid have the intangibles to be great? Does he have the discipline to go to class? You know
Mm,
what is this kid? You know, show up to all his classes? Is he on time to practice? You know, what's his mindset in terms of that? How does he feel about, you know, classes? Does he want to be competitive in the classroom too? You know,
right. Oh
um,
yeah. Because obviously in a JUCO, like, I don't, I'm assuming not every kid wants to go compete at the 4 year school, but I'm assuming, you know, I've talked to a few junior college coaches, and, you know, I've watched Last Chance U, and, you know, JUCO's a fascinating world of college sports, and, you know, to get those kids out to compete at the next level. I'm obviously getting the degree, right? Their associates is most important, I'm assuming, but getting those kids out of where they are now, we're getting them from Butler to XYZ, right? It's got to be top priority for you as the coach, right? I mean, I'm assuming that that's kind of what you're doing it for, on the level of, like, not only is it a win for them to get the degree, but it's also a win for them to say, oh yeah, we did our job to get them recruited or whatever.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you 100%. That's our main goal coming out of junior college. You know, being able to help place these kids um, to a place that fits for them and for the institution they're going to, right?
Too.
And you know, sophomore year, we'll sit down with athletes and say, hey, this is what you've done so far, your marks. This is, you know, how your grades look. Okay, ideally, what are we looking at? Do you want to stay in state? You want to go out of state, right? And then we got to try to narrow it down from there with, like, you know, looking at schools, reaching out to coaches, stuff like that.
Right. And are you guys doing a lot of the reaching out, or are coaches coming to you? I mean, I know that this your first year as like the head coach, so I don't know if that was something that, like, that's a head coach thing or like a program thing. But I mean, is that, I'm sure you've seen it and talked to your coach previously. Is that, you know, how does that work? Are y'all going out, or are they coming to you, or both?
It's kind of both ways. You know, say Jimmy Joe from down the road says, "Oh, I'd really love to go to XYC school." I'll reach out to those schools, and but also, like, I'll send I'll send I create a list of all our kids, and I'll send it out, blast it out to a bunch of college coaches and try to get them as many, you know, looks as possible, you know,
Mm-hmm.
right fit. But we'll have coaches reach out too. We have coaches come every year, recruit our kids, come visit campus. You know, they'll say, hey, I want to talk with this kid, and then, you know, come here and talk with them. But
Like, does your national track meet or national cross country meet change every year?
yeah.
It does.
Yeah, cross country, we're flying out to Richmond, indoors, Texas Tech, and then outdoor is right down the road, Hutchinson.
Okay.
We've
Yeah.
hosted nationals here in the past. I think 2017 we've hosted outdoor nationals too. We've hosted
Oh,
cross
cool.
country nationals here. So
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's where like a lot of the next level coaches will go, right? I mean, do you see a lot of scouts, if you would, recruiters at those big national events?
yeah, they're out there. I mean,
Got the clipboards and stuff.
you see the big dogs. You'll see like the LSU's of the world. The
Yeah.
Kentucky's of the world out there. So
Do you guys see? And I don't know if this is just like a naive thing or maybe I'm naive to it, but like, do you guys see a lot of kids on like the bounce back world? Because like I know like football, you have like kids who went D1 year one, made mistakes, didn't have the degree or didn't have the grades or whatever, so they bounce back to junior college, right? Or you have kids who could have went to LSU, could have went to Kentucky, Texas, but they just didn't have the grades. Do you see a lot of like that type of thing, or do you see a lot of kids who are like just where they sit in high school, the best fit for them is going junior college?
yeah, yeah. We get a mix. We get kids who GPA at a high school might have not been the best, and hey, they want to reset on that, and they come to junior college route. We've had kids bounce back from Division One, big time Division One, Division Two. They come to JUCO to kind of recreate their college career.
Yeah.
So
So what's your I know you're kind of biased to the distance running, but what's your favorite event to recruit if it wasn't distance?
I like the quarter horses, man. I
Okay.
love the 400
The
runners.
400.
I like to
Yep.
recruit the high jump.
Yep.
I was telling my assistant, man. I said we're gonna have a really good high jump crew next year. I don't care. We're gonna recruit to have one of the best high jump groups in the nation. I recruit everything though, pole
Of
vault,
course.
freaking
Yeah.
throws, and
But you like to you enjoy watching or being a part of. I wouldn't say be a part of. I know you're part of everything, but those are some of your favorite events to watch and recruit for.
yeah.
Is it just because like the intensity of what they are and like because it's like athletically you have to be really really like technical, or is it just because I mean 400. I know it's just a workhorse, right? Like my one of my best friends, he was a 400 runner and he was just a different breed. But like high jump is, I feel like super technical. And so is it more of like, what stands out to you on those? Is it just like a personal thing, or is it something about those events that you're enjoying?
Yeah. I like watching high jump. I like watching the high jumpers work in practice. It's like an art to me, man. Like the way they get over the bar, man. I mean, everyone's got their style. I love watching the high jump, man. It's one of my favorite events to watch. 400, same thing, man. But yeah.
400's a nasty event. 400's a intense event, man. It's I remember there's a time in high school that apparently I was getting pranked, but they knew like I ran 100 and I wasn't like the main guy, right? Like in high school we had a guy who ran a 10-2 my senior year, so like I wasn't the guy, but I was just like I just did it for fun. But I can't remember, it was like the last track meet of the year. Like it was pretty much like, I guess not last track meet, but last regular track meet, and the coach was like, Kaysen, you're alternative for 4x4. And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, you're in. And the way my heart dropped, because I knew I didn't want to do it. And I was like, I've never ran one, coach. I don't even run them at practice. He's like, it's fine. So I remember every person around me, even the 4x4 guys, were like, look, this is what you're going to do. You're starting on the blocks. And they got me all hyped up. They told me how I should ratio myself from like you're exploding here, you're jogging here, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, whatever. So like I was already in my stuff, I was getting ready to go, and as soon as starting to walk out to the track, coach was like, you're not going out here. And the way that my heart was like upset, because I was so upset that I was like so nervous to go. And then I was like mentally getting ready. I was like, let's just do it. And then he stopped me. I was so sad, but I know in the times 400 is probably one of the most excruciating like events there is out there. And I don't know that, but based off of what I've heard and seen and talked to people, 400's got to be horribly, like, really rough on your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is kind of the part where a lot of coaches stick around and listen to kind of hear, I guess the deeper questions about you as a coach. So, how do you build a successful culture on the level of buy-in and mindset?
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think walking into Butler, you know, we have a really good situation here, and our athletic department as a whole has a really good culture, very successful teams. So I think that helps. Setting the expectation high and not settling, I think is very important with the kids. Also, that personal relationship. I think, man, hey, if I build this personal relationship with this athlete, he's going to be able to buy in more and trust you instead of just someone going off on you or just telling you this, that, and the third. And you're like, who is this dude? He's coach,
Yeah.
but yeah. But big thing, personal relationship is huge. Knowing that, like, hey, this coach cares. Okay, I want to do what he's saying that I need to do to get better because it's going to ultimately help me.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, our culture as a whole, as a program, we've seen a lot of success here. So, kids come here and, they believe, so.
They know what they're gonna get from Butler. Yeah, I mean, and it also probably helps too, which I don't know if it actually matters, but I'm sure it's pretty cool that if you could say like, oh, like if one of your kids ever made it to the Olympics, or I don't know if you recruit, like, I know you said you like to recruit heavily within Kansas, but I don't know if you have had the opportunity to coach like an international kid, but like there's some places that are very small, but you might have the best athlete from that small country, right? And I'm sure that would be pretty cool if you ever had the opportunity to do that. I know I got to. There was actually a few which, I mean, Adams, there's actually been a few. There's some twins from Ireland, I believe, and she ran in the 2020 Olympics, I think. And then there was a couple, actually husband and wife that ran. They ran from there. It was a really small country, island country, but they ran in the 2016 Olympics. So I was like, dude, that's pretty cool that I went to school with these guys and I know them. So I don't know if that's ever a coach's like in your head, but I'm sure it'd be pretty cool to be like, if this ever happened, those relationships that you built, it's not, the relationships that you built would be cool because then, like I could text this person still to this day and be like, hey, good luck tomorrow, or good job last weekend, or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. No, even just last year, we had a kid on the team who competed at the 2020 Olympics for Trinidad and Tobago. He was on their relay team. We had a really good sprinter, Gerard Elcock. He was from Trinidad and Tobago as well. When he was at Butler, he went out and competed at the World Indoor Championships in the 60 meters, over in
Yeah.
Europe. He's a national champion for us. He signed with Puma out of here.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So,
So you've seen some of that. So you've seen some of that stuff. So does any of that stuff, which I guess that may be able to lead us into this question, knowing that you've had all that success with athletes in the past and stuff like that, I know it helps getting kids to want to come to Butler. But how do you build a successful program on like the level of wins, or, I guess being an individual sport, I guess it's kind of how much the athlete actually puts in the work. But like, I guess as a team and as a program, winning conference titles or national titles, or just getting to that next step, right? How do you build a successful program on quote unquote wins and longevity? And then how do you sustain that over time, especially as like a 2-year school? You're always recruiting for 2 years. So it's like, how do you sustain that over time?
yeah, no, that's a great question. Like you said, 2-year schools, man, we're turning kids over every year. So,
Right.
culture is way harder to build than it is at a 4-year, for sure.
Right.
But that's the part where we go in and we got to make sure we're bringing in the right kids into the program, and just at every level, being able to follow what we're trying to do and continue. And it kind of just falls in line after a while with the expectations and what we need. see the sophomores from last year, and they, okay, this is how things are done here. And this is how
Yeah.
I'm going to do my warm ups, and so.
So do you ever see yourself like going to the next level as a coach? So, I've spoken to a few, JUCO coaches, and they've said like, hey, I love what I do here. 4 years maybe an idea, but it's not something I want to do necessarily unless it's like the perfect opportunity. Have you thought about that? I know this is your first year here, so I'm sure you're going to enjoy every moment of it. You're going to spend as much time here making sure you're comfortable if that opportunity ever came. But is that like a long-term goal or end goal for you, is getting to that, whether it's NAI school or a D1 school or like whatever your goal is that something that you've thought about doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I'm never opposed to the opportunity. Now, I'm really happy with what we have here at Butler and our situation here. And, I grew up right up 77. 77 comes through El Dorado here. And I grew up right up 77 in Junction City. My parents are still there. They're about an hour, 45 minutes away. Right next to Wichita, a good
Yeah.
sized city. You know, I could see myself at Butler for a very long while. Now, hey, there's a coach, Kirk Hunter, and he coaches at Wichita State now, but he coached here, I want to say like 2000 and 2007 or something like that. And, he got the opportunity at Wichita, and,
Right.
something like that in Kansas popped up to a really good program or a good situation, then I might think about it. But, I'm not actively looking. I've been given offers. Got offered just this past year to go down to Texas and be a part of D1 program down there. But
It's
I'm
so
happy
funny.
here.
I've noticed this, and I don't know if it's because like, and I understand like if people of administration listen to this, right, of your program, and they're like, what do you mean you want to go somewhere else, right? Like, I can understand it on like the PR side of things, but it's funny because like high school coaches are like, yeah, I'll gladly go to the next level. I'll gladly go from assistant to head coach. I'd love to take over a program. I'd love to do this and do that. And then it's like, as soon as you start talking to a college coach, really of any level, and you ask that question, it's like, I've made it to probably, I've already kind of surpassed my initial thought process of where I'd be. So like, I'm content with where I'm at, unless, like you said, a perfect situation. And who knows where you'll be at in life, right, in 10 years from now or whatever. But for now, you're content with where you're at. And it's just interesting to me because it's like, for me personally, collegiate coaching is my goal. So it's like, if once I got to that 4-year school or that school, I'm like, I'll probably be the same way. Like, no, I'm cool. Like, I'm comfortable here. I don't know if I want to go anywhere else unless it was truly a perfect opportunity, right? So I say that on the level of like, it's just interesting because when you're in high school, it's like if that's your goal, of course you're going to go wherever and your opportunity's there. If you're an assistant, you're glad to take a head coach. But once you get to that head coaching job in college, it's like it could be a 4-year, it could be D1 or a JUCO. It's like, man, I'm okay. Like I'm okay here,
Yeah, and I mean our athletic director, he's been here. I think this is his 38th year here.
Yeah.
Our his boss has been here over 30 years, and I think the challenge of like, creating a legacy here at Butler is very intriguing, within our
Yeah.
conference, our region, even at the national level, I think
Yeah.
that's, the longevity of it's very, very intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know you got a really good football program there, and just that conference in general, right, is pretty historic, if you would, in their own right, of course, in most sports. I guess it's just as a conference in general is pretty historic, and I know, like last chance you went to Independence and all that stuff, a few years ago, and it's cool to see junior college programs develop to where they are now, right? National level, what's the right term? Like people know about it on like a national scale, right? And people are starting to be more okay with community college athletics, which is actually kind of interesting because, when I was in school, I don't know when you graduated, but I graduated in 2013. So like back then, which even then, like I had the opportunity, like I said earlier, I could have went to Arkansas Baptist, but like I knew I wasn't gonna go be able to go play D1. But like my coaches the whole time were like, you can go play Division 2, like you got the athleticism to go do that. But I had an opportunity to go play that JUCO, and I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I would really want to do that because I got an offer now to go play. I can go compete at D2. So like in my head, that was like, my coach said that, I was like, that's where I can go. And like now, like as a coach, I tell people, I'm like, look, you don't have to, just because you think you can go play here, 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 doesn't mean you're not going to get the same amount of competition or talent or development if you go to a quote unquote smaller school, right? And that's I think is big because people kind of overlook JUCO, and I don't say I have any regrets, but I think that going junior college for some people, some athletes, is probably the best route to go, just because you do get that step up from high school. You still get some collegiate, competition, you get collegiate coaching, you get all that stuff, and it puts you in a better position for when you go to that 4-year school and playing time or starting time, right? Depending on every sport, right? I don't know how it necessarily works in track, or cross country, but just like, football, right? If you want to go play at LSU and you're a 2-star, 3-star guy, you're probably not playing till you're a junior or senior, right? And you might, but realistically, right, just on hypothetically speaking, you might not see the field till you're a junior. So it's like, why not go play junior college and get on the field? You don't lose any of your game speed, and then you can step right into that position. So I just think JUCO's fascinating to me because when I was in school, it wasn't really like whatever. But now I tell kids, I'm like, look, if you're not going to be that guy or girl at wherever you're going, like, look, keep all options open, right? And it doesn't have to be just junior college and like options only, but like if you think that you're a D2 guy, okay, well, keep NAI open or keep D3 open or keep whatever open, right? It doesn't really matter where you are. It's keeping those doors open until you find the right place.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And even my kids now, a lot of my kids, ultimately they go to JUCO because they want to open up an opportunity. A lot of them, hey, I want to go D1, this and that, which is nice.
Of course.
Everyone,
Of course, yeah.
everyone wants to go D1, right? But I tell my kids, I said, man, D1 is not everything. You're going to get a good experience, at D2, NAIA, the right program that fits you. And JUCO is that place for some people. And like you said, our conference, man, it is a grinder, especially like, for example, on the football side. I think we played number 3 in the nation, Snow, and then we came back the next week, number 15, Highland, and then we came back last week and played
Iowa Central.
Yep, number 1 Hutch. We beat number 1 Hutch. Then Iowa Central took over number 1. We played Iowa Western. Sorry, played them. And I mean, it really is an opportunity. I tell these kids, man, it's a great opportunity if you take advantage of it. Go run with that opportunity.
And I'll tell you what, there's some junior colleges, and I bet Butler's one of them, that if you're going to school, and I know that you're not really recruiting for like, hey, the football experience, right? Like on a Friday night, whatever, or Saturdays, right? When we don't have stuff, you're going to come here and get a good football experience or basketball experience, right? Because, like to be honest with you, I'm a Jayhawk fan in college basketball. Right. Sorry to hurt your Wildcat, history there, but I'm a Jayhawk fan. So it's like, I would love to go and experience in Lincoln Fieldhouse like that, right? So like if I was going to get recruited somewhere between this place and another place, and they're really close, but it's like I want an experience, I might go to Kansas just because of that football or that basketball, excuse me, or like whatever, right? So there's some junior colleges that probably have some really good football like weekends, right? Like the student sections and like the crowd is pretty. Like I know that you probably had more people at your school for your football games than like some Division 2s or some other schools, for that.
Dude, it's crazy because I coached at Fort Scott before this, and before they shut down their football program, they were playing at the high school and go out there and whatever. Here at Butler, I mean, we have probably a top 3 stadium for JUCO. We have a lot of people turn out. I think they hosted like a city festival in conjunction with the football game. I think it was the weekend we played snow. We had the most random band, Smash Mouth, played after.
What? Okay.
We
Hell
had
yeah.
Smash
Okay.
Mouth out there rocking out. We had the
Middle of
festival.
Kansas.
Yeah, but people are tailgating, man. They have like I know our social media department, they do an awesome job, by the way, but they have like a tailgate of the game. People are out
Yeah.
tailgating. It's crazy, man. So yeah.
I can only imagine. I mean, if people get shut down in, small towns for high school, I can only imagine a good collegiate, even like, good JUCO college level, And I mean, it's not, and a lot of those guys are going to get to the next level anyways, right? Like whatever sport it is in junior college, you have a good history of a program like Butler. I'm assuming across the board, you're going to see those athletes compete at a Division I. Some of them, right? A lot of them are going to go to the next level if they choose to, and they do the right thing. So it's kind of cool because as like a person of the community, I'd be like, let me go watch this quarterback because he's good, and we might see him on, Saturday on primetime CBS next year or whatever, or like I grew up where I'm from, New Mexico. It's a baseball town, so we host the Connie Mack World Series every year, and it's like a high school baseball World Series, right? They bring the best of the best from in AABC, and like I don't know if you know about baseball, but like Bryce Harper, who's one of the best, one of the most. He's going to be a Hall of Famer probably. Like he played in that. Like there's been so many guys who've played in that tournament who made it to MLB and stuff, and so I guess kind of similar to like going to watch a small town junior college. You're probably going to see some of those guys. Maybe even on the football field on Sunday or soccer field one day or whatever, right? One day. Or track and field, maybe you might see them in the Olympic trials one day running on a team, right? Or whatever it is. So I'm sure it's just a really good environment to be around and where you're at Butler. So I do have one last question for you. It's the name of the podcast, and my favorite question is, why do you coach? What is your why?
Well, that's a good question, man. I mean, you know, I'm an impact coach. I like to make an impact on a kid's life. I like to bring a kid in, be able to send them out and say, "Hey, I made a really good impact on this kid. I helped change his life, change his trajectory, whatever it may be." I like that's what I like. I like to help these kids move forward and make a positive impact on these kids, and ultimately that's why we do it. We love it, and so yeah.
I like that. Yeah, make an impact on these kids' lives. Sometimes the kid needs a program more than the program needs them, and those are the ones that you make the biggest impact on. I mean, in high school it's probably a little bit easier to have that directly impactful type of thing, but I'm sure there's plenty of kids like that in college where it's like if you don't help this kid now, he might be wherever, right? He might be in jail, he might be in the streets, he might be whatever it is. He might go back to his hometown because he feels like he failed, or whatever his or her experience is, right? It's one of those things where I'm sure you have that across the board in all levels of coaching. So I really appreciate you jumping on, man. I think that was really good. Like I said, I've never had a track coach or cross country coach, so some of the questions I had to kind of come on the make on the fly. But I thought that was a really good one. I really liked what you had to say about that, and kind of diving into how you go about your recruiting, just because you're the first one that marks are important when it comes to it versus like just analyzing somebody. So I really appreciate you jumping on today, man. Hopefully one day we might be able to get you back on for another one for kind of dive into like I guess since you don't really have schemes, but like dive into practice plans and how you get people to peak at the right moments, right? Because that's every coach's. I guess if you have it down packed and you've done it for a long time, you probably might have figured out the process. But every coach has their own preference and like times, right? Like cross country, you have to peak. I guess you want to peak in districts, but you really want to peak at state, or not districts, regional. But same thing, like, track, obviously you can qualify whenever, but you really want to be at your optimal performance at the end of the year. So it's like, especially in your case, because you're going year round, or even track and field guys who are only doing sprints. It's like they're going from now pretty much, right? Like November-ish till May probably. So it's like, how do you transition into like, how do you keep them not necessarily fresh because their body's going to get beat up, but like, how do you just keep that momentum from like here to that, right? And there's so much that I think would be really intriguing to hear on like the track side doing that, especially good programs who have with that history and with what you're building there. I think it'd be really interesting to get you on to talk about that side of things as well and dive more into recruiting and kind of, how you're operating, especially at that time too. If we get you back on, it might be after your first season or maybe sometime, in a little bit of a more of a break time type of transition type period. So maybe at that time we'll have a little bit where we can actually dive into a little bit more, about how your first year went.
Yeah, no, I mean, that'd be cool, man. It'd be cool to hop on again. I mean, you do great work. I mean,
I
you've done
appreciate that.
awesome, man. And I like what you're doing, man. I support it 100%. And hopefully keep that thing rolling, man. I'm in full support. If you're looking for a college job, you need a reference in the Jayhawk, let me know. I'll try to make a phone call or two for you, man. I'll try to get you something.
Hey, hey, well, if you can give me an interview, if you can get Coach Self on this podcast, it'd be top tier. No, I appreciate that, man. I really do. From where we started to where we're at now, and I see a lot of I have a big vision for this thing. It's really unlimited opportunity here. You can go as high, I can get as high as I want on, who I talk to, or keep it small like how I've been doing. I love the idea of, just talking to as many coaches as possible. And, I really appreciate that you noticed that. So, I appreciate that you're a part of this and, this is going to go on for a long time and a long while. So, you're one of the first few. So, I really appreciate those nice words from you. And if you guys are still listening to this podcast at this point, if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you guys HTB, hit that bell, like and subscribe. All the 9 yards, y'all know what to do. If you guys are on Spotify, PocketCasts, and or new, we just added Apple Podcasts to our list here. If you guys are, whatever you guys are listening to, make sure you guys leave a review. Make sure you guys hit those stars. Whatever you say it with your chest because we want to hear what you got to say. Coach, I really do appreciate you jumping on today. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, I did make a mistake earlier. I said Lincoln Fieldhouse. I meant to say Allen Fieldhouse. I promise I'm a true Kansas Jayhawk fan. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.